Oh, geez. Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for joining me on the stream today. There's some technical difficulties going on, so I don't know. That's all you got is this. I don't have my usual background and everything. It's just very poor. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I had to actually drag my camera and up into the corner because it's only showing me, out of the usual canvas, it's only showing me a small corner. So, or on stream, it's only going to be showing a small um, corner. So, anyways, let's get to the task at hand, guys. So, trade stacking. You saw right there from the thumbnail. I had the mechanical, the electrical, the plumbing, and stuff all together there. Like in a list, one on top of the other. Hang on, guys. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, sorry about that. So, anyways, trade stacking. So I know as a project engineer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're incoming PE or whether you're an estimator or anything else, trade stacking is very simple. You get multiple trades working on the same project at the same time, which doesn't sound very difficult or is like it's a no-brainer. But the thing is, not only on a big job, but especially on a smaller job, what happens when you need to have them work at the same time, pretty much in the same space, in order to keep one of two things. You either need to keep your project on track and on schedule, or you've somehow fallen behind and now you need to catch up. And so you want to stack the trades so that they can work simultaneously and get the job back on track. So, in essence, what you really need to be mindful of is that you really don't literally stack them on top of each other where they're essentially working in the same place at the same time. Good example is the mechanical. Oh shit! Hold on, guys. I forgot that was there. Oh man. Oh man, that's a lot better. Anyways, so yeah, like I was saying, the thing is you don't want them literally working in the exact same place at the exact same spot or time. So, for example, mechanical. Sometimes the mechanical, depending on what they're putting up, like coils, whether for the heating element coils or in part of the air conditioner, you need cold water to be running through. So they got to put coils up, and so these coils obviously need water. So then the plumbers are involved. So then the plumbers have to route the water, whether it's the cold water or the hot water, depending on the building, especially in commercial. You need to make sure that literally the plumbing is there for the mechanical guys to go ahead and put their coils up so they can make the final connection. Or sometimes the plumber will do the final connection, so they'll be there at the same time. But what you don't want is for the plumber to still be installing pipe and hangers and things like that while the mechanical guy is trying to hang his hangers and hang his duct and put up the coils. You just don't want them there at the same time doing too much work. Like I said, you probably want to coordinate between your mechanical guy and the plumber to make sure that they're both there at least, or for when the mechanical guy is installing, at least for the plumber to be able to make that final connection. But it's not essential to do it that way because you can always have the plumber come and make that final connection at a later time, just before too many things go up. Though you always have to keep that in mind. But like that, if you are in a hurry where you need to get the job done or you need to get through this particular part of the job, to catch up with the rest of it, what you can do is, like I said, get them there at the same time or have the plumber. Pretty much what it is like when I had a job where we were doing the linear accelerator and I needed to, because of the fact that our demo of the old frame of the linear accelerator actually took 2 weeks longer than it should have, because no one anticipated the amount of work that was needed in order to take the frame out. I mean, we knew it was plenty of concrete, but we weren't exactly sure on the strength of the concrete, because over time it gets harder and it can actually exceed by a pretty good amount its design value. So that took an extra 2 weeks. So now I needed to make up time. In order to do that, I had my electricians in this vault working at the same time that I had the plumbers working in the vault to bring in the plumbing for like that, the mechanical, and also for a sink that was going to be there in that linear accelerator room. I had all three of them in there working at the same time, but obviously I had them working in different areas. Now their areas of work did overlap, so this is where it comes in. So I brought in the plumbers probably like 3 or 4 days earlier than the mechanical guys, so they could put all their roughs in. But what I did is I had them put in pretty much where all the coils, because the mechanical guys had already come through and marked where the different things were gonna go. They mark them on the floor, and then they put them right above that. So the wiggle room is in the duct, but pretty much the coils, registers, things like that, they're gonna be pretty much set. So unless your framing for some reason makes it impossible and you got to move that stuff around, then that's a totally different topic. But as far as trade stacking, I had the plumbers come in and put their plumbing. They literally worked backwards. So they put up the valves where they were going to make that final connection to the mechanical, and also although they couldn't do it for the plumbing for the sink, but since it was just them, pretty much that was fine. I didn't have to worry about that. So the plumbers came in, they put in their stuff, the valves and everything, and they started working backwards. So then I had the mechanical guys, actually they were working towards the project because they had to bring their stuff from the hallway. But not only that, our project kind of spilled over into another project that was going on simultaneously. They were renovating the space across the hall, and so those two, or that entire HVAC system, had to connect from ours into theirs because they had the main trunk. So we had to tap into the main trunk, and while they were renovating and doing things to that main trunk on the other side of it. So I had the mechanical guys start on that side. So then as they came into the room, the plumbers were going out of the room. And that actually allowed for the plumbers to put their plumbing as close to the ceiling as possible from the vault. And this really allowed, or it gave us a lot of, wiggle room in the way that, when they put their stuff. So then the mechanical came in and we could actually kind of adjust things here and there, because that plumbing was the main thing that was the most rigid. And especially because it's going into a vault of a linear accelerator, the little hallway that leads into the actual linear accelerator room, they call that the maze. It's never straight into the room. It always makes the turn because of the way the radiation bounces off the walls and things. So with that, because of the radiation, they have to have the radiation shielding on the door and the frame, and then you have the concrete that holds the frame, all that. So in order to get the plumbing and the mechanical through and any other things that needed to go through there was a small not small, but there was a square opening above the doorway. And so we had to fit a whole bunch of stuff, the mechanical, the supply, and the return. There was not only cold water and hot water, but there was chilled water that went into more mechanical stuff that was inside of that room. So all in all, it was just a mess of stuff there. Luckily, we were able to actually figure it out, and by the sizes, we asked the plumbers the size of the insulation for the chilled water line, and what else needed to go through there, and this and that. And so actually on AutoCAD, I was able to draw the opening and put all the stuff in there, including the insulation and things, on not only the plumbing, but also any type of insulation that went on the supply, or even the return, from the mechanical guys. So we were able to fit everything through there very, very tightly, but it was done. So obviously, because of the configuration that was going through there, the plumbers couldn't hang exactly everything, but they were able to hang what went up against the ceiling. And so that was, the best part. So the mechanical guys, like I said, they were working kind of towards each other. So then when they kind of got really close to each other, then I was like, all right, I went ahead and gave the plumbers a head start that morning. They I asked them, you guys want to come in like 2 hours, or an hour early or 2 hours early? You tell me. I'll be here early. So then that way, you guys can do your thing before the mechanical guys show up at the time we usually show up and open up the job site. And that way they can put up their ducting and keep going, which was, like I said, it was actually really cool because they did both work with me. And so we were able to get everything there. And so we saved days worth of work just in getting them across, that path pretty much. The electricians were working all around, all over the place, because since it's a linear accelerator, there's a lot of electrical, um, from powering the machine, which was huge, a huge amount of electricity to run the machine, and also, the different runs that they had to make, the cable runs for pretty much the new wires that needed to go in, all the new cables and everything that went into the machine, plus all the usual, the regular outlets, the emergency outlets that go there, and everything else that went in there, from the lighting to sensors, and the specific lighting that was chosen, and what else, the lighting that went into the millwork, the new millwork. They wanted it lit up a certain way, so then he had to put in his conduit runs for those things and whatnot. So it was kind of cool because, mechanical had to get into the space. So by the time they were coming into space, electrical had already finished all the things that they needed to do on the ceiling and things like that, for any other plugs and power to everything else. So then the mechanical guys were able to come and route all of their ducts around the different things that were going to come down, and didn't disturb them. And mechanical was able to kind of move around the room pretty freely, including in the center, so that they could get all their stuff done too. So we actually ended up, between those three working and a few other things here and there, we were actually able to save 2.5 weeks worth of work. So now we were not only back on schedule, we had a little bit of flow time for any other little mishaps or any other things that came up. So it ended up working out really, really well. So this is something that you actually might want to consider at the beginning of your project, which is why I'm talking about it now. It doesn't have to be that you need to catch up. It could be just the fact that for bidding purposes, you purposefully bid the schedule a little short, so then you could save that money and come in, whether at budget or under budget, or whatever made you the winning bid. And that's really one of the main advantages to not only having that in your back pocket, the trade stacking, for the cases where you fall behind, or maybe the client wants something and you talk to your trades and go, okay, well, we'll kind of maneuver things here and there, and we can still be on schedule, that type of thing. But it can also be a huge advantage when you're bidding. Depending on the estimator, depending on the project manager that might end up taking this, you might want to talk to your boss before you do this, so that you can use it as a strategy, not just what do you call it, like oh, by the way, or like as a reactionary thing. You want to take action, and be proactive with something like this. So like I said, it's a little tip here, or a little trick, and especially like you with the estimators, if you guys are watching this, the trade stacking really is something that you can use to your benefit. Like I said, not only for change orders, not only for if you fall behind for some reason, whatever, the weather, things like that, if you're doing outside work, but as a tool to help you win bids. Okay, that's the cool thing. So, as you know, or if you were listening, I kind of worked my story into that there for today, but there's times when it can backfire on you. There's times when, so it was a different job, and we had fallen behind only a couple days, which was perfectly fine because we had flow time. But I still wanted to be able to finish this project, early. And so I brought in the mechanical guys and the plumbing guys, and I, same thing, explained to them exactly what's going on. We want to finish early. We want to make that push. Do you guys have the personnel so that we can get this done? Oh yeah, they both agreed to it. They're perfectly fine. So the day comes, we show up and we start working. Everything's fine. And so there was an injury. So, really a self-inflicted injury that shouldn't have happened. They should have been paying more attention to what they were doing. They were trying to save some time. And of course, it cost us like 2 days because of what they did to themselves, really. So then that really bit me, because then by the time we got back on track, or we were able to get back to work and really have a really go at it, I was really a week and a day behind because of what happened. So it's not always great because of that, but if you use like very reliable subcontractors that aren't like owner operator, it can work great. It can work in for your advantage in a great capacity, because they'll be able to just send someone out, someone else out if it was just a minor injury or something where it's not some huge major thing where OSHA needs to get involved or anything like that. So just another thing to keep in mind for when you're doing things like this. Now, on a huge, large commercial project like a mall, a giant, office building, things like that, I don't really anticipate trade stacking. I've heard of it being used, but it's not something that's used very, very often because of the fact that there's so much space for everyone to move around that you can literally send, all the plumbers start from the top, work your way down. Tell the HVAC guys, okay, you guys can start from the bottom, start working up, and when they get to the middle, when they're about there, then you just kind of either tell the plumbers to start from the bottom and work their way back up, meet, wherever they left off, or you can even tell the HVAC guys. Actually, it might even be easier to tell the HVAC guys because they got to kind of have their runs already gauged, and stuff. So then they can go upstairs and start working their way down to make their final connections or make their connections halfway, through the building or whatever you want to, however you want to do it. But it can work also on the big, huge projects, not necessarily just in the small projects. You got plumbers, you got steel, but of course, don't forget, there are times when you're not going to be able to, like at the beginning of the job. If you're pouring foundations, there's no point to having the mechanical guys, hey, bring out your duct. Why would you bring out the ductwork? There's going to be so much dirt, so much dust. It just doesn't make sense. Now, if they have, if by the time you guys get started and you got the foundation kind of half done and they're ready to go, or they need to bring materials to the job site, that's going to be a call to make, whether you're a PM or a superintendent, because as you well know, a job site, any space on a job site is like a freaking parking space in New York City. It's very valuable. But you also have to think that if you have a large laydown area and you start telling all the trades, or you start letting all the trades bring in their equipment or their materials early, it's going to fill up all that space, and then you're not going to have space for your own stuff, for your trades, your in-house trades, things like that. So they might actually, like the mechanical guys, they might take up a whole big old huge amount of space. The electrical guys probably not so much, just because they've got their wires, they can usually put them on racks that they have, things like that. So kind of depends. But of course, if you got structural steel guys, that's gonna be because they're next after the foundation gets poured and things. Then you have to have your structural steel go up. So that's gonna have to be a judgment call on your part as a PM or an assistant PM. But I would definitely give priority to those trades that are very near to beginning. Like I said, structural steel. Obviously they're gonna have their steel. They're probably gonna have decking. Depends. The concrete guys obviously are already there because they're pouring their foundation, and you might actually have them getting ready to pour the deck, the floor, because once the structural steel goes up, usually there's Robinson decking, and then you pour the concrete on top. That gives you your slab for the floor. So it's kind of at your discretion how you exactly want to play it, because it's not an exact science, as we know. Sometimes it's more of an art. Construction can be more of an art than a science. So take that into consideration, not only as an estimator when you're bidding, but as a PE, as a PM, hell, as a superintendent, because you're the one out there watching and managing these guys more than anything. The PM does a lot of behind the scenes stuff, obviously, but also making those phone calls to the subs, keeping the schedule on track and things like that, and that's talking to a superintendent to make sure that your superintendent is making sure that the subs and their employees are performing up to par, not only in the quality of work, not only in the materials that they're using, but also in the amount of time that they are using, and staying on schedule, because as we all know, time is money. And if they back you up, especially early in the job, it might stack up and delay other trades. So we don't want that happening, because then you'll have a hell of a fucking time trying to get everyone back on track. The earlier something happens, I guess the better, because you have more time to kind of deal with it and straighten everything out. Whereas if you're further into the project, you never know. One little change might affect a whole bunch of trades. When something needs to, say someone forgot that there's backing, or they want to put back cabinets somewhere where there was no backing put. It doesn't just affect the framers. It affects the drywall guys, because now you got to tear out some drywall. You got to put that piece of backing in. You got to replace the drywall, finish it. But then you have to think about the painters, because now they got to come back and paint, unless you want to do it in-house, which, depending on the type of paint, sometimes we would do that on our own. But like I said, depending on the type of paint, some paint you just have to paint floor to ceiling, wall to wall. There's just no way around it. But anyways, so that's trade stacking in a nutshell, guys. And like I said, it can be used to your advantage immensely. Okay, but don't abuse it, because your subs will get, I guess, used to it, and they'll bid their prices, as tight as they possibly can, knowing that you might call them early or something like that. So when you do need them to actually cut labor, well, not cut labor, but cut the schedule, compress it on their end, it might come back to bite you, and then they're going to want more money, because they've already accounted for working, at a quicker pace. So that's just something to keep in mind, guys. All right. So, I guess actually that's kind of it for now on trade stacking. Kind of thinking about what we would do for next time. I don't really have anything major for you guys. I know I didn't, it's been like over a week since I did. This was supposed to happen last Wednesday. What was that? January, what was it? 27th, right? Is when I was supposed to be here and do this. But that week, last week, was kind of hard for me. And then Saturday, there was no way I was going to do this on Saturday either. I ended up having to put my dog down, you guys, and he really was my best friend. And it hurt. But at least now everything's fine, He's at peace. He's resting. That's all really I wanted for him. Anyways, sorry. So for next, actually Saturday, as you, I don't know how many of you follow football, but ask my team. Been rooting for them for over 25 years. So Super Bowl is next Sunday. So who knows? I might be here talking about some stuff here and there, talking some shit or whatever. But anyways, I'll think of something. Actually, now that I mention it, my brother's an iron worker. He's a union iron worker. And he's been an iron worker for a while. He did not get the opportunity to work on SoFi Stadium here in Los Angeles. But he did get to work on the Las Vegas Stadium for the Las Vegas Raiders. And it was, it sounded like pretty cool experience, of course, but there were plenty of Chiefs iron workers out there apparently. And so, I never heard of anything, because I guess they were at work and stuff, and besides, football guys, you shouldn't take it too far, and those guys were actually pretty cool out there, talking shit all the time and whatnot. But even with that, they're not out there talking shit. No fights broke out. There was nothing like that, no property damaged or anything, no punches thrown or anything, just a lot of talking shit, But that's the thing. You hear the stories about these iron workers who are grumpy and shit that, fucking will go out there and just beat the shit out of people and things like that. I don't know if you guys have heard. Those are stories I heard. But, to be honest with you, even I consider myself an iron worker, because I was out there and I had my structural steel erection business and things like that. I had my brother working for me. I had my dad working for me, who's an iron worker also. And, I can see what made them, fucking grumpy old men and shit like that. Well, my dad's not too much, Doesn't affect me too much, but when I'm out in the field like that and working and people start talking shit or want to give me attitude, I did notice that I really, really started talking back a lot more than I usually do. And some of them did manage to get under my skin. But for the most part, I just try not to let it, get to me. And you guys, I've told you this before. In the construction industry, because of budgets and schedules, and because of schedules, there's sometimes material shortages or there's delays in the delivery of the materials. Everything, usually things work out, guys. Okay, don't stress about it too much. Don't give yourselves unnecessary stress. All right. Here's my suggestion to you. It can be handled tomorrow. Usually, for the most part, 99% of the time, it can be handled tomorrow. Okay? So don't get all up in a tizzy. Don't go home and think about it and let it eat away at you when you're at home. Go home, enjoy your family. Don't worry about it. Shit, grab a cold one, watch some TV, play some video games, watch some football on a Thursday or Monday night. Don't let it get to you so much, guys, all right? Because elevated stress for a good amount of time, for a long period of time, will shorten your lifespan, all right? So don't let them do that to you. Construction can be fun, all right? Don't become a sour, grumpy old man. Well, maybe a grumpy old man you can, but just, know that you shouldn't let it get to you. Okay, guys? All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys until next time. So on Saturday, we'll see what I come up with. I mean, there's plenty of topics to discuss, We can talk about money. We can talk about steel. We can talk about the different trades, some plumbing. We can talk about meetings, things that go on in meetings, other things that project managers have to deal with, stupid little shit that we have to deal with sometimes. Actually, I gotta get to it. I got some shit to finish. Extracurricular things, if you guys didn't know. I don't know how many times I've said it before, but I do some project management on the side. And so, some of these little residential bullshit projects and shit, ADUs, additions, things like that, where the owners, they don't have time, they're at work, and they want to make sure things are getting done. Hey, man, that's a good peace of mind to hire a project manager to make sure to keep the contractor honest, to make sure that your project is running on time, they're not fucking goofing off and shit. Swing by the project, make sure everybody's working good, and all that stuff. And like I said, staying on track and dealing with the little shit with the contractor that the owners don't want to deal with. I understand there's stuff that goes the other way also. Some contractors, have to deal with these homeowners that are constantly changing their mind on paint, or, hey, what if we do this, or what if we do that? I gotta tell you, I got fucking tired of that shit as a designer too, because I did some drawings, for permitting for different things here in the local area, for ADUs and for remodels and patio covers, things like that. And sometimes it's just little bullshit, and I gotta tell them, hey, let me worry about that. Don't worry about it. All I need you to do is pick a color and stick to the color. Okay, don't be changing colors. You need to make sure that when you tell me what color you want, you're good. You're done. The finishes that you want, you need to have researched this before. All right. And I don't want these little changes, which is why actually recently I started charging for these types of changes. And go, oh, but hey, if I already drew it, you're going to pay for me to change it. But we haven't submitted, you haven't printed. That might be so, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to take me time to get in there and make a change. Not only to the one little thing that you want, like, just in the floor plan, how many other things am I going to have to touch? Am I going to have to touch the sections? Am I going to have to touch the details? Hell, even the foundation plan sometimes, depending on what it is that they change, make a slight roof. You want a hip roof instead of a gable roof? Well, it's going to entail a little bit more than just, drawing a couple lines. I mean, honestly, because then I got to change a couple of the, the details for the roof, because you have a hip roof. That's a completely different connection, a lot more complicated connection than just a regular old gable roof. So, but anyways, we'll see what happens for the next time. All right, guys. So pretty much until then, you guys get out there, get to it, get that get those projects done. Get yourself some bonuses by finishing them early. Stack your trades when you can, right? We're taking into account what we were talking about today. So let's get out there and let's get to it, guys. All right, and don't forget, whenever you're out there, I don't know what that was about. I just set her off. Alexa, stop. Oh man, we lasted the whole thing until the very end. All right, guys, like I was saying, get out there, get to it, get yourself some bonuses by finish your projects early. Hopefully, if your job offers it. But hell, might even benefit you with profit sharing in that case, right? So get out there, get to it. Make sure you guys are wearing your PPE whenever you're out there. Stay vigilant, stay aware of your surroundings at all possible times, especially with the large equipment swinging around and moving all kinds of different materials. All right. So until the next time, guys, stay safe.